Doom scrolling is killing your brain, but carrying one of these might just change your life. Like a lot of you guys, I use my phone way too much. Anytime I have a free second, I'm pulling it out, opening Instagram, and just rotting my brain with whatever the Zuck wants to feed me today. I'm sick of it, man. You know, it's time for a change. So I've been carrying this thing around with me for the past week or so, and anytime I get an urge to play around with something in my pants, I pull this thing out and play this instead. I'm replacing scrolling short form content with catching Pokemon. You can play Pokemon on a PSP now. It is really, really sick. We'll get into everything that I've done to this to be able to play that and a ton of other really cool games. And then we'll get into all the negative effects that mindless scrolling has on your brain and how this could be your solution. So you might be wondering, what makes short form content so bad for you? You're probably also wondering why you should listen to me. And that's a really interesting point. I'm really glad you brought that up. Anyways, any short form content where you swipe and it auto-plays the next video, like TikTok or YouTube Shorts, they all follow the same model, the variable reward schedule. And that also happens to be the same model used by slot machines. You can see this little slot machine right here to represent that. So every time you swipe for a new video, you're essentially pulling the handle on that slot machine, and you keep swiping until you find a video that you really enjoy. Aw, it's really cute, it makes you happy, you laughed at it, and then this is you, right? You got a big old smile on your face, it's awesome. Your brain tells you this is something I enjoy, and you get a nice little dopamine hit from it. Now, the problem with that is that our minds aren't really built to consume content that way. And that brings us to our second point, focus switching. So every time you swipe, you have something wildly different for your brain to focus on. And that reconditions it to prefer short bursts of attention over prolonged concentration. You can see that represented by this guy right here, this little brain. Look at the hard eyes. He's loving TikTok. Scrolling is so much fun, you know? I could do this for hours. And then it turns out after a little while, you can't get through a full video without having Subway Surfers or a Family Guy clip playing at the same time. Now, the last thing I want to touch on is the emotional whiplash. So you might start here, all happy, you know, you're seeing a cute video of a dog maybe, and then you swipe, oh no, I just watched somebody die horribly. You swipe again, oh, cute baby, that's awesome. Then you see the Costco guys and all that stuff, you know, and then you end up right here. Look how big your frown is. We don't want that. So as we ride this emotional roller coaster, your body starts releasing hormones and it puts you into a state of low-grade stress. You're not exactly in crisis mode, but your nervous system is a little revved up for longer than it should be. And that's why scrolling can leave you feeling drained, anxious, and emotionally flat. And I know that's something that I've been feeling the more and more I've started to consume this content. And this is just scratching the surface. There's a whole host of other problems it causes. It is quite literally healthier and more productive to sit there and do absolutely nothing. Now you compare that to something like gaming, and all of a sudden, a hobby that used to get lambasted for being unproductive and unhealthy starts looking a little bit better. That's something I never understood growing up. Adults would tell me how unhealthy it is to play video games. And then they sit there on the couch rotting for 4 hours watching the Big Bang Theory or whatever boomer slop was on the TV. Like that's any better, you know? With gaming, you're forced to focus on a single objective. Think critically about how you're gonna complete it, solve problems, and stay engaged in a single story for possibly hundreds of hours, depending what game you're playing. There's also some evidence to show that video games might help reduce your risk of neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's. Now, obviously, there's better options to fill your scrolling time. I'm not trying to say video games are better than like going to the gym or like talking to real people. But when it comes down to something you can just carry in your pocket to kill a couple of minutes whenever you're bored, you can do a lot worse things than catch a couple of Pokemon. All of that sounds great and all, but why a PSP? Like there's so many other handhelds out there. Why am I telling you to buy one that's 20 years old? Well, first is the form factor. If you're gonna be carrying this around as an alternative to a phone, you need something that's just gonna slip into your pocket and you're gonna forget about. And that by itself rules out almost all of the modern handhelds, using that term very loosely there. I don't care what you're calling it. This isn't gonna fit in my pocket. I'd have to break out my cargo shorts from middle school, throw on the old Rowley Jeffersons, you know? And second of all, they're cheap. You might have to sell your car to afford a single stick of RAM, but one of these, you can find a PSP on eBay for like $50 to $80. And when you guys learn how much you can do with this in 2026, I think you're gonna agree it's the deal of a century. And what really makes it worth it is the modding community. It's so strong around the PSP. You got physical upgrades like ISP screens and USB-C charging, and then you have all the other things you can do like custom themes, movies, game backups, and emulators running all the way up to N64 and PS1. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. It really blew my mind, and that is why I decided on the PSP. This is my own personal one, but I did want to buy one for the video so I could put myself in your shoes and see how much it would cost to buy one towards the end of 2025 when this video is being made. I actually ended up finding this listing with 2 PSPs and a bunch of games. That just goes to show there are some crazy good deals out there. You just have to be patient and keep looking. There it is. They're right there in that case. Also, I got a really good deal on this Garfield phone. We don't have a landline or anything. I just thought it was kind of cool. Both the PSPs were in good condition, and it came with 9 games. I'll probably just end up selling everything because I have my own personal PSP, and since we're jailbreaking, we won't need the physical discs. I just wanted to buy it to show you guys there are some really good deals out there. And I got combined shipping with the Garfield phone, so like I would be losing money if I didn't buy it, you know? Now, to unlock the full potential of the PSP, we're gonna have to load some custom software, and it really couldn't be any easier. The whole modding process took about 10 minutes. You just transfer some files over USB and then run it. And then you get this really cool screen that makes you feel like a hacker in like a low budget action movie. It's pretty cool. After you run that software and this is actually hacked, you can run game files, which means you can play all of your games without having to put the physical disc in it. All you have to do is download the ROMs online. Just make sure you buy the physical copy of the game before doing it, or else that would be considered stealing. Stop being a baby and just pay $800 for Earthbound like a good boy, like a good little consumer. Now this thing's loaded up, it's oozing, it's dripping with really good games. I can't wait to get my mouth all over it. Metaphorically. I'm gonna carry it around with me for the next week or so, let you guys know what I'm playing, and see if it helps me stay off of my phone. So what exactly can you play on here? Everything. Pretty much. All of your garden variety emulators will work on here up through PS1. The SNES in particular works extremely well. I've always wanted to play through Chrono Trigger, so I transferred it over to the SD card and tried it out. I feel like I skipped over this a little bit earlier, but the memory card situation on these is crazy. So the standard PSP memory cards are proprietary, so they're expensive, and they only go up to like 8 gigs, I think. But now they have micro SD adapters, which you can pick up for like under $10, and it lets you use a standard micro SD in the PSP. So right now I have 64 gigs of storage on here. And with most PSP games being between 1 and 2 gigs, and a fraction of that for older games, you can legitimately put a lifetime's worth of content on here, like it's nothing. But anyways, back to the emulators, the SNES works great. It held a very stable frame rate, and I don't see that changing with anything else in the library. Same thing with the entire NES library. That should run perfectly fine on here. I emulated some Game Boy as well, and this is where I got really excited because that was one of my favorite consoles growing up. There's just so many good games on there, and it was really nice playing it on a form factor that didn't feel terrible in your hands. I didn't notice it as much when I was a kid, but the Game Boy Advance SP, like the square one, is just really uncomfortable to hold. Plus the games upscale really nicely on here, so they look really good on this screen. I played some Mario & Luigi All-Stars, some Pokemon Ruby, both great games to carry around with you to kill a couple of minutes. I'm gonna be playing Link to the Past, Metroid Fusion, Backyard Football. I'm really excited about it. The N64 is whenever we start coming back to Earth a little bit. The compatibility list is on the shorter side, but being able to emulate anything from that console was very surprising to me. Some of the games I tried running, like Paper Mario, wasn't playable at all. The frame rates were just too low to be enjoyable, but there are some classics that work pretty well. Mario 64, Banjo-Kazooie, and Donkey Kong 64, all of those were running pretty well. And I did notice a lot of people recommended running the games without audio to try and increase the frame rates. And it helped a little bit, but it's not going to turn a game that was unplayable into something that you would be able to play without hating yourself. The DS technically has an emulator on here, but I would steer clear from that, and it seems like the community agrees that it just doesn't really work on here. Now, PS1 games, on the other hand, are perfect. PS1 games can run natively on the PSP's hardware, and now there's software out there where you can just throw in a PS1 ROM and out pops a PSP port, and you just transfer it over and play it like a normal PSP game. No emulator necessary. And it doesn't just stop with emulation either. You have access to tons of custom-built homebrew apps and games as well. There's a stripped-down version of Minecraft you can play. You got Flappy Bird, and you have Halo. Technically, it's Quake, but it's got a little bit of magic sprinkled on top of it to make it look and play like Halo. And on top of all of that, we can't forget the incredible PSP library too. There's some serious bangers there, and I'm so excited to play through all the games that I missed out on when I was a kid. I've been playing through Castlevania and Dragon Ball Z Shin Budokai, and it's been so much fun. I played Budokai Tenkaichi 3 on my PS2 a ton when I was a kid, so having like a light version that I can carry with me and play whenever I want, it's been really cool. God of War is really fun. I've been playing through that. My first one was 2018, so it's really nice to go back and see what made people fall in love with the franchise in the first place. And I gotta say, I get it, man. I got some great games on deck too, like GTA Liberty City and Burnout Paradise to play once I finish those up. I'm really excited. I got that tingly feeling down in my haunches, you know? So it's my first day carrying the PSP, and I figured I'd go to my car for lunch at work today so I could play some God of War while I eat my lunch. We're down in the trenches. It's plain ham and a banana. I've really been enjoying carrying this. It feels like the form factor is sculpted by the gods. I mean, it's just perfect. The only thing I have a problem with is the little thumbstick in the corner. It kind of feels terrible to use. Luckily, most of the games you can use the D-pad for. But besides that, I don't have any complaints on the design of this. The next day, I brought it with me to work out. I just slipped it in my pocket, didn't even notice it was there. I was able to knock out some Mario and Luigi Superstars in between sets, which is a time when I usually end up scrolling on my phone. So it was nice. I didn't touch my phone for the whole workout. So it's been a couple days, and I've been carrying this everywhere I go. And I've been having a really great time with it, honestly. Something I wanted to try on here was watching some videos. There's a couple options for watching videos on here. You could either use the physical UMDs. You could also transfer any MP4, the same way you would transfer over a game file and just watch it on there. I'm curious to see what it's gonna be like. Those are gonna have to cook for a little bit, so I think I'm gonna throw a video on. Got my favorite YouTuber on here. So I watched through the video while I made the food, and I would say the experience was suboptimal. So I think the biggest thing was the screen. You can tell it's a little bit outdated. It didn't look the best. Also the volume. It was just really quiet and didn't sound great. I just don't really see a situation where you would ever really need to use that for watching videos. The only thing that I could think of was maybe if the power went out, or if you're driving in a car and you have a little kid in the back seat and you want to give them something like kind of like an old DVD player. And it does have that hold feature. You flip the switch to hold, and then you can just hold it any way you want. You can press any buttons and it won't do anything. So that would be really nice, especially if you're giving it to a kid. They'd be pressing all kinds of on there. Not bad, right? Not too shabby. I mean, it gets the job done, but I don't really ever see myself using it for that. It's been around a week since I started carrying this, and I'm gonna be honest, I'm starting to see a little bit of a change. I don't know if it's placebo, and frankly, I don't care because my screen time is looking much, much better. I'm gonna try to keep improving and getting my screen time down in the future. I'm not necessarily trying to stop using my phone altogether, but maybe just be a little bit more mindful how I'm spending my time. So do yourself a favor, go buy a PSP and save your brain and have a lot of fun while you're doing it. If you enjoyed this video, maybe go check out some of my other ones. I think you'll probably like it around here. All right, I'm gonna go finish God of War. We'll see you next time.